Hello and welcome to the second edition of Tape to Tape. I'm your host, TheTonyM, hailing from San Diego, California. I don't need any of those shower curtains there. Joined by my host, Tyler Lessard, better known as T-Less in the fantasy industry. Tyler, I can see all 14 of your cavities that got filled today. I hope you can make it through the next half hour of Tape to Tape. How are you?
I am doing well. The Novocaine, or whatever they use now, wore off about 2 hours ago, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
The Novocaine, if Tyler happens to stumble over his words today, he'll just blame it on the Novocaine. Well,
Yeah.
we have a half an hour today to go through this amazing 7-game slate. Tyler, I don't know about you, but I think that some of the plays really seem to stand out. Some of the other ones a little bit more murky with some injuries and some folks returning to lineups. We have a 16-game win streak that's on the line in a difficult spot today. But Tyler, we'll go through these 7 games in a half hour, give you our top plays at each one. Then we'll move on to our gimmicks of the night. Our favorite gimmick, the top shelf lock of the play, that skater that we think is going to put in a great fantasy performance and should be in your lineups tonight. We've also got Civ City, Tyler. We've now changed Civ City not to skater, but it's going to be that goaltender that we think is just a complete dumpster fire today, and that one that you want to target. Our new play, our blade fade of the day. That skater that we think may be in a good spot, but you can fade comfortably. With that said, Tyler, let's move on to our first game of the night. We will fly through these quickly in these next 28 minutes. The Edmonton Oilers skate into Boston to face a Bruins team that has a 2.73 implied goal total. Tuukka Rask likely in net. This line opened at minus 130. Boston is now sitting at a minus 155 money line favorite. Edmonton's lost 2 in a row. Boston's lost their last game, but they've won 2 of 3. And Boston, though, Tyler, has the third most shots for in the National Hockey League. Where are we looking to for scoring production this evening?
Well, when I first looked at this game, I immediately thought first line. First line, whenever it comes to playing the Edmonton Oilers, whether it be home or away. And then I dug in a little bit deeper and realized that actually the depth lines are what really hurts Edmonton on the road. But as far as what I'm looking for as a cash play, and I think it's going to be mostly, I weighed my cash play at center today because of how high owned I thought he would be. And I have Patrice Bergeron as my cash center. He has, averages about 4 shots a game, 5 shots a game. Started off slow, but with Pastrnak and Marchand, even though I do know that they will be up against McDavid's line trying to shut him down, McDavid's line has been known to give up goals while they're trying to score goals. So with that in turn, that first line of Boston's very good two-way offensively and defensively. And I'm looking at Bergeron for the most part. And then, if you want to expand it a little bit more, you could go Pastrnak or Marchand as well.
And the Boston Bruins power play, certainly one that is in play tonight. Bees have scored 2 power play goals in their last 3 games, and they've scored 5 power play goals in their last 6. Compare that to an Edmonton Oilers team, pretty weak on the penalty kill. They gave up 2 goals to opposing teams' power plays against Columbus. Columbus, though, best offensive team in the NHL right now, averaging the most goals per game. Goaltending in this one, I think it's okay to fade a Cam Talbot, even though we do know that the Bruins can simply kind of fade away and drift off to offensive obscurity as they did against the New Jersey Devils a few nights ago. But I think it's safe to say that Cam Talbot's not in play. But talk to me about Tuukka Rask. Cash game playable, GPP playable, or are you just going to fade him tonight?
I would say on any other slate with this matchup, he's definitely cash game playable. And he still is cash game playable, but this is kind of the same thing last night with like my Ryan Miller like debate and everything and John Gibson debacle. I was thinking I just see more value elsewhere tonight in different matchups where I can save. I know he's only like 8.8 on FanDuel, but in my eyes, I could save. And like you said, the Bruins could self-implode. And the third line the depth lines have really killed Boston when they've been playing at home. About like 45% of all goals is scored on them. They shuffled their lines a bit, but Toronto's now on that second line, not on the third line anymore. And as far as I look at Edmonton, Dreisaitl's back on the top line, but they've been known to shuffle their lines mid-game, and he could go back to the third, and Letestu's on the fourth and the power play unit, and they've been proving that they can score goals. So I'm staying away from Rask, personally myself, but he is a cash game play.
He is a cash game play, and we are live here over on YouTube to anyone watching our second edition of Tape to Tape. I'm TheTonyM with Tyler Lessard, or T-Less in the industry. Our second game of the night features the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are riding that somewhat historic 16-game win streak, looking to tie that streak with a win tonight. Won't come easy facing a Washington Capitals team in the Verizon Center that are favorites tonight. First time Columbus has been a road dog during this streak. Washington's won 3 in a row. Columbus has allowed power play goals in its last 3. Does that mean Ovi's in play? Columbus, though, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, has been scoring at the best clip in the entire league with 3.5 goals for. Tyler, I really do want to see Columbus win tonight. I don't know if it's going to happen. Sergei Bobrovsky is one of my top GPP goaltenders tonight because he's going to see a lot of shots. Where are you looking for offensive production this evening?
For offense, as far as this game in general, I think it will stay under 5. I don't see it going over it. The only reason why I say that, Columbus has been hot, but they've been sound defensively for the most part. Bob has been standing on his head. When you look at Washington, they've always been known to play pretty good defense. And while their offense hasn't really been there lately, I think that they start to get it going. This is normally the time of the year where the good teams start to show themselves. And, all the hype teams start to slowly fall off. I think Columbus is the real deal. I really hope they win tonight. And I think they will win. But as far as cash plays, you got to look at Ovechkin. I personally am not on Ovechkin, but I do know that the numbers say that power play goals is something that Columbus does give up. Ovechkin will sit out there for both power play units if he needs to, right in his office. He'll wave off the other guys, and he'll get his shots tonight. And I also think that Bob will get his saves. I think it's maybe 3-2 game, 2-1. I don't expect it to be that high scoring at all. As far as Columbus, I look at Cam Atkinson. That second line of the Capitals, when they've been playing at home, have given up 31.25% of their goals to the second line. And right behind that is the third and fourth line at 28.13. So, I mean, if you're looking for someone from this game to target for, even you could say Atkinson is cash, but I did not put him in cash due to the low total for today. And I looked at other wingers elsewhere with a lot of depth. And you can even look at Gagner and Atkinson to pair each other for a GPP on that power play unit for Columbus.
Sam Gagner, an interesting play. That Columbus power play has really clicked. Columbus has scored a total of 7 power play goals in their last 6 games. And I did mention that Washington's been allowing power play goals to their opponents. They allowed 2 to Toronto, Austin Matthews, Connor Brown, and Zach Hyman a few nights ago. For me in this one, I see Dubinsky trying to shut down Alexander Ovechkin, Nicky Backstrom, TJ Oshie in that top line. For me, I'm fading the second line on the second even strength line. That said, if you want exposure to Atkinson, as Tyler mentioned, that's perfectly fine. Sam Gagner centers the top power play unit with Nick Foligno, Cam Atkinson, Zach Werenski, Alexander Wenberg. Wenberg, a nice naked play on his own. Werenski has to be one of your top 5 defensemen today, just given the fact that he has a safe floor. I don't know that he's cash game playable because I think you want to pay down it as far as defensemen go, unless you're paying up another $1,500 for Victor Hedman. As far as goaltending, Braden Holtby, Sergei Bobrovsky, really quickly, Tyler, who's playable in cash? Are any of them? Yes or no? And in GPPs, where are you lying? Where are you putting your money on?
Honestly, if you're going to go for a cash goalie, I wouldn't look to this game immediately, but I do know on other sites where you need savings, you can look at Brandon Holtby as far as, Washington plays very well at home. Columbus' streak does have to end at some point. I personally don't think it's tonight, but Brandon Holtby, I think, is probably going to be, fairly high owned in cash games, probably about right around 17, 20, 22%.
There you have it from Tyler Lessard. Moving quickly through these games, our third game, the Nashville Predators head to Tampa Bay to face a Lightning team that's a minus 125 money line favorite. This one hasn't jumped up much, just about 5 basis points, but the Tampa Bay has one of the highest totals on the night of 2.83 goals. This game, Tyler, I think you agree with me, looks awesome for DFS purposes. It is the only game on the slate that has a 5.5 over-under. I'm sure you're on Tampa on home ice. Tampa Bay, though, does have the 8th word penalty kill, and they're allowing 30 shots against, which may leave the door open somewhat for Nashville. But on the Tampa side of things, is it all about the triple line tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they have been like producing at an unreal rate since they've been reunited together, and Kuch has come back from his injury. And Palat's really stepped it up, by the way. He was almost nowhere to be found at the beginning of the season, and these last about 7 games, he's really ramped it up with those other two. I'm looking at Tyler Johnson, Nikita Kucherov, and Andre Palat, and as well as Victor Hedman. I think Victor Hedman is, like you said, I don't really like to pay up really ever for a D-man other than his name is Brett Burns. But Hedman, I mean, he's been on fire with these guys. He's been feeding them. He commands that power play unit with them on it. And I think you need to have Hedman in your cash games. If anybody, you need to have Hedman because the value today at defense is like 1 or 2 top tier plays, and then the rest are down here, and you can fill in with Hedman with another D-man somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the way I see it too. As far as defensemen go, defense today is a lot like center. Center's pretty terrible today, even with 7 games on the slate. A lot of the guys that you want to target are just not in great positions. So I find myself today rostering centermen. They're at least 5,600 and up. Really no value centers to have. Same with D-men here. Now on the Nashville side of things, where are we looking at? Is anybody in play? We do know that Tampa Bay is a terrible penalty kill. They are giving up 30 shots. On home ice, though, Tampa Bay is really allowing their goals to come from opponents' depth lines. So that may mean that a guy like Philip Forsberg, who's had a nice little offensive surge, maybe isn't in play because I'm not really interested in rostering a Colin Wilson or a Kalle Janmark. Maybe I'll roll out a naked Victor Arvidsson, who is a top 7 skater as far as iCorsi per 60 goes. But other than that, I'm completely fine fitting Nashville. Tampa Bay, Andre Vasilevsky. Tyler, talk to me about how he ranks as far as cash game and GPP goalies go.
He is strictly GPP for me tonight. And the only reason why I say that is that for some reason, Tampa Bay has this weird defensive system where they'll give up like 3 goals in the matter of 4 minutes, and then they'll shut them down the rest of the game. And I don't know what it is with them. Maybe because they've had so many injuries on the the forward side that it's lacked on the defense had to try and pick it up. I don't know what it is, but Vaz for me is not a cash play. Given that I think there's 3 other cash plays that you can look at that are in better situations. Because Nashville, what we've seen earlier this year, they can get hot and they can score. And the penalty kill for Tampa Bay has not been the best as of late. So I think that Vaz is a GPP only in my own mindset.
And I haven't seen if Pekka Rinne has been confirmed and yet. Last I checked, he had not been confirmed. And as I check now, he is likely. I'm completely fine avoiding Pekka Rinne on the road in Tampa.
I think if you're looking for someone that's going to maybe fly under the radar, Arvidsson is on that third line. And like we talked about, like Tampa Bay is giving up goals to their depth lines. And Arvidsson shoots at an unreal rate. When he was with the first line, I saw some games where he had 7-8 shots a game. Mm-hmm. And even on that third line, he's still producing, only skating like 16 minutes last game. But still, he shoots the puck a lot. I know. I think he had like 4 shots last game. If you're looking for exposure to Nashville, I would go to Arvidsson. He's only like 5,600, 5,700, plays on the power play unit, which we noted that Tampa Bay has been lacking defending. So I think if you're looking for a GPP play, or even you want to slide him into cash, Arvidsson is an okay play.
Yeah, and that was a play I mentioned a few minutes ago with Victor Arvidsson. Like I said, owns a top 7 iCorsi per 60. He's scoring, Tyler, 2.83 goals per 60, and his goal for percentage when he's on the ice is 58.97%. So Nashville relies heavily on Arvidsson, especially in the offensive zone. Our 4th game, Carolina Hurricanes head to St. Louis to the Scott Trade Center to face a Blues team that's 15-3 on home ice. Carolina's lost 2 straight.
Yawn.
Yeah, low over-under, 274 implied goals for St. Louis. I heard one of our colleagues, Michael Keller, mention that some of the Blues skaters might be under the weather, which opens things up for Carolina. Man, other than a guy like a Ty Ratty who's skating on the top line of Carolina with Victor Rask and Jeff Skinner, I don't see anything from Carolina. I do typically like the Blues at home, Tyler. I don't think you need to go here today. I'm avoiding.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not. It's weird. Jake Allen will do great one game at home, and then another game at home, and then all of a sudden he plays awful. And this is one of those games where I feel like people are going to look at it and like, okay, all right, Carolina on the road, Jake Allen at home. Blues play better at home. I'm going to take Jake Allen. I'm staying away from Jake Allen. I think he's viable in GPP circumstances, but Carolina is no slouch this year as far as putting up producing goals and shots. If I'm looking at the Carolina side, Trevathan and Aho are two of the guys that I would focus on because they're cheap. You can slide them in wherever you want. You can pair them together. They're on a power play unit together. They average about, I think, like 10 shots a game between the both of them. And they've been, if there's one area that St. Louis, other than possibly being sick with the flu, is the first and second lines giving up goals. And I know that they have floated that second and third line around for Carolina. They've flip-flopped. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take advantage of a possibly under-the-weather St. Louis squad, and TiVo and Aho go off tonight for maybe 2 points apiece.
Wow. Interesting here call from Tyler Lessard on the Carolina side. Jake Allen, man, I want to say that he's in play, but no matter what he does, he can blow up, and he's always going to give up a soft goal early on in the game. In that first period, St. Louis always seems to go into the first intermission down 1-0 or down 2-0. Jake Allen, is he cash game playable, or is he GPP playable, or just no? I tend to avoid Jake Allen even in GPPs, as I don't think Carolina is going to shoot the puck a whole lot tonight.
Yeah, like I said, I can't play him in cash tonight. I like other guys more, and I don't think that this is going to be as dominant as a game that some people think, with St. Louis, possibly running the table. And I think that Carolina actually holds their own, like you said, low shots. But I think that Carolina actually pulls this one out on the road.
There you have it. Bold call here from Tyler. Carolina getting the win as road dogs. 5th game of the night. We've got 3 more to go. Try to wrap the show up, give you our NHL gimmicks. I know you and I have an interesting views on this one. The Sabres are in Chicago. It's a Blackhawks team. The money line on this one has come down 10 points. It opened at 195, Tyler. Mid-morning, this line was all the way up at -200 in favor of Chicago, but now it's down to 185. So below where it opened. Chicago, 2.92 implied total goals. Buffalo is allowing the 5th most shots per game. But I don't think you're in love with Chicago, and I think I may agree. Where are you at?
Yeah, I saw that implied total for the game. I'm like, okay, all right. It opened up at Chicago as favorites. So they're at home, and they have played pretty well at home. But nothing about Chicago screams to me that you need to play a certain guy. I mean, Patrick Kane is always in play, and the bread man Panarin is always in play as well. But when I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at the prices of Winger and the totals. And a big note is that Ryan O'Reilly is supposed to be back tonight, which is one of the top defensive centers in the league. I think that he harasses the Kane line, and I think they're going to struggle to find offense from the Chicago perspective. And Nilsson's in net, and he's been doing great for them. So I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be that high of a total for Chicago tonight, and that's why I don't see eye to eye with Vegas today as far as that.
An interesting call here. Buffalo's pretty terrible. I mean, they're bad defensively. They own the worst penalty kill in the league. Chicago, though, is equally bad on the penalty kill. Buffalo giving up over 32 shots a game and giving up 32.4 shots a game. They're only allowing, though, 2.62 goals. I think Chicago wins the game for sure. Do the goals come from, though, where we expect them to go? I think you may be right. I don't think they come from the top two lines. Maybe that leads to Chicago's third line being in play.
Yeah.
But again, on a 7-game slate, you don't need to go there. On the Buffalo side of things, Tyler, we mentioned that Chicago's giving up a ton of shots. Chicago's actually giving up the fifth most shots, 31.3 shots against, and they have the third worst penalty kill. Does this mean that Buffalo, that top line of Eichel, is in play, or are you looking for somewhere else from Buffalo for production?
I was looking at trends for Chicago lately because they always surprise me with the way that they spread out their goals and where the goals are coming from. And I looked and I saw that they've actually given up a lot of goals to opposing teams' first lines at home the past 3 games, at least a goal in every single game, and even dating back to 4 games, 5 goals from opposing teams' first lines. And for some reason, they're matching their third line with opposing teams' first lines, and they're letting it happen consistently. I don't know if it's because they're trying to get the Taze line going or something, and Hartman, but it has not been working for them as far as that, because all their productions come from that second line. And then when they get on the power play unit, Kane and Panarin going back to back. For Buffalo, I really like Jack Eichel. He's been awesome. The kid's a pure talent. This is one of the most talented games that you'll see as far as skaters on an ice at one time, with Kane, Panarin, Eichel, O'Reilly, Evander Kane, Okposo. You got a lot of really good skaters and a lot of good shooters in this game. But I do think that Ryan O'Reilly, if he comes back, I see that he's projected to be on the third line, starting the third line. And Chicago gives up 24% of their goals to the depth lines. And if he's trying to lock down Kane and Breadman, I think he might slip past that offensively adapt second line for the Blackhawks. And O'Reilly might sneak one past Crawford tonight.
Ryan O'Reilly. Bold play here. I want to roster a guy like Sam Reinhart. It's possible that I might have a GPP or two with a Sam Reinhart and a Ryan O'Reilly and play, just getting exposure against that Chicago poor penalty kill. O'Reilly 6,100 on FanDuel. Let's talk about goaltending briefly before we finish up with our 2 games. We get to our NHL gimmicks. Corey Crawford, can you trust him in cash games or no?
When you look at it from a Vegas point, and they're normally spot on, I do think Chicago does win this game. And I do think he sees his fair amount of shots. As far as how many goals he lets in is to be said. I think it might be about 2 to 3. I hope it's not anymore for some people that might be rostering him. I will not be rostering Crawford, but I do see, there's a cat. Go away for now. And I see him not being my cash play. But if you do play him, Vegas does back it as well.
And we just saw Tyler pet his kitty. We have the
Hashtag kitty dar
featuring the Minnesota Wild skating into the Shark Tank, where the Sharks are minus 125 moneyline favorites. They're 2.64 implied total goals. I don't know who's in net. I haven't seen it. I don't frankly care. Evan Dubnik's in net. Marty Jones should be in net. I don't really care, though, frankly. Minnesota. The thing for me is, though, and I think that we have one favorite play from this game, aside from Brent Burns, who's GPP playable. I'll let you talk about the one play that we kind of both like. But Minnesota saw its 12-game win streak snapped on New Year's Eve to Columbus. I don't know how they're going to come into this game from a psychological perspective. I don't know that it matters because I'm not frankly on Minnesota. But on the San Jose side, where are you looking?
This is a game where I look at where I don't expect a lot of goals. I really do look at the data sheet to see where teams have been struggling as far as they're not giving up a ton of goals to the unseen eye, but when you dig deeper, you see where they're mostly coming from and trending from. Minnesota's top line has been giving up quite a few goals, not a ton, but the most as far as home and road production combined. And I really like how they bumped up Timo Meier to that first line. He was on the third line. He had been shooting, I think, like 4 shots a game, except for like 1 outing. An unbelievable rate. He's a natural scorer as far as what his passes presented. And I think that him being so cheap and on the top line, and he's going to be with Burns on the same at the same time with Pavelski. I think that he's got to be a cash lock tonight because when you're looking at a night where you have so many studs and you're trying to fill in, he's got to be on it, even though it is, necessarily low total, and it's supposed to be Dubnik, I believe, in net. So I'm looking at Timo from San Jose.
There you go. And for me, if I'm on this game, and I'll have this guy in my GPPs just because he is my brother, he is my father, he's everything that I want to be. Nino Niederreiter.
Oh, man. You're just talking about his father on the show already?
Where you go. Nino Niederreiter. He's going to score tonight, folks. Martin Jones stinks. No, he doesn't stink. He doesn't stink, but I just wanted to say that. Just
terrible,
to justify.
Terrible.
I just wanted to justify my Nino Niederreiter play. Sharks holding goals, as most teams do. Most strong teams do when they're at home ice to opposing teams' depth lines, simply because Sharks don't have any forwards. They're going to try to shut down that third line because they don't need to worry about them, frankly. Nino Niederreiter, I am the whisperer. He'll score. Thanks. Last game of the night, Tyler. Detroit skates into the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is the largest Vegas favorite of the night, the highest implied goal total. Line from this one jumped up 30 points overnight since it opened. Where are you at on this one?
I'm all over LA. Detroit's on a back-to-back. They have not been impressive. I was really, pulling for them last night with Mantha when they were playing Anaheim, and I didn't see anything that, would make me want to pick them tonight against LA, an LA squad that, they can put up goals when they're on home ice. And I was actually pretty surprised to see them as the top total, as far as none of these teams are really explosive offensively, but they can obviously put up goals. But LA being at, just over 3 goals expected is something to definitely take note of. And I think I'm going a little bit away from the data on this one. I think that the production is going to continue to come from that second line of LA with Tanner Pearson and Jeff Carter. They're really the only ones I'm looking at as far as consistency from LA. And Pearson's averaged over 4 shots, a game over his past couple of games. So I think that when you're looking at LA and you're trying to narrow down where the goals are going to come from, I think you can always come to the common, denominator. It's going to have to do, with that second line, how they produce that night. And I think they do it again tonight and put up, 2-3 points.
There you go. Top line in LA. Actually, the second line in LA is where it's at. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where or how the line shakes out without Tyler Toffoli, with Devin Setoguchi in place of Toffoli. For me, it's all about the Los Angeles Kings today. We might see one of the skaters in just a few moments here once we get to our NHL gimmicks. But the goaltenders, looks like Jared Careau is in net for the Detroit Red Wings, and Jeff Zatkoff, not Peter Budaj, is in net for Los Angeles. We know that Zatkoff is extremely cheap around the industry, especially on FanDuel, where he's the cheapest goaltender that's getting a start today that's really worth anything. But Zatkoff, can you trust him in cash? He does give you the flexibility to pay up for forwards and your Victor Hedman tonight.
Yeah, I think that I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think you can trust Zatkoff tonight because of not necessarily how good he's been, but because of how unimpressive Detroit has been. And especially with them on the road, LA loves playing at home. Like, they're one of the few teams in the NHL you do not want to play at home. It's very loud atmosphere, and the Kings love playing in their own ice arena. And Zatkoff, while he has not been that bad. He hasn't really had. I was looking back at the numbers. He hasn't really had any goal production the past couple of times he's gone out there. I think that changes tonight. I think he does get enough goal production, and I have him as my cash game goalie tonight.
Jeff Zatkoff, cash game goaltender. Tyler, well, that does it for breaking down the games. Now I think we get to everyone's favorite portion of the show, where we both run through our NHL gimmicks. We'll each give you, Tyler and myself, our top shelf lock of the night, our blade fade player of the night, that player that we think you can fade in all formats, as well as our Civ City play. Civ City on our first show, a little bit different, shaking it up today. Civ City play of the day is going to be that goaltender that you want to target offensive skaters with. So, Tyler, who is your top shelf lock of the night? Hashtag this out, folks.
I'm switching it up on you. I know I told you before the show what my lock was. And now, while I'm even going with this broadcast even more, I'm thinking I'm switching it up. I have 2 plays, but my top play is definitely going to be Nikita Kucherov. The guy came back and scored 2 great goals in a game where it could have easily just been lost right off the bat. And they battled back. And tried to salvage a win out of that game. Weren't able to, but still, Nikita Kucherov, I mean, 7, 4, 2, 5, 6, 9 for his shots in his past couple of games. The triplets line against a Nashville team that can't stay out of the penalty box and likes to give up even strength goals on the road, and a Lightning team that's been surging and producing at a pretty nice clip as far as the offensive side is concerned. He's had 2 goals, 2 assists, 1 assist, 2 assists, 1 assist in his past 6 games. So when I take everything into consideration and I look at the winger position tonight, I look at Kucherov and I see he is my top shelf lock of the night for me.
Nikita Kucherov, top shelf lock of the night. For me, it's got to be Jeff Carter. And for anyone that called this in the chat, thank you. Stole my thunder. How dare you?
I saw Joyman calling it.
You were banned from listening, Cash. Jeff Carter, 7.7 on FanDuel. Goals in 2 straight games. He has 7 goals in his last 7 games for a total of 9 points during that span. Jeff Carter is not a forward or a skater at all that I am willing to forward, especially in cash games. Now we move to our new play of the day. This is a new play called the Blade Fade of the day. That skater that you think we can fade in all formats. Tyler, kick it off here. Who is your Blade Fade of the day?
Last night, I had the chokehold on Tyler Seguin. I know that he was highly touted for the night. And you know what? My top shelf outperformed Tyler Seguin. So I felt okay. Fading Seguin last night. And now I'm going to put myself on the same boat, and it's sinking right now. I'm saying Patrick Kane tonight. I say you fade Patrick Kane in the sense that I think that, like I said earlier, the Ryan O'Reilly line, they're going to try and shut down that Kane line, and they're going to do whatever they can. I don't see him producing enough points to be able to justify his price tag, to put it simply. I don't think that he will have hit value today. And I think that a lot of people are going to be on him because it is Buffalo and they have been pretty terrible defensively. But I think there's more to be seen in this game, and Patrick Kane is my Blade Fade of the night.
Patrick Kane, Blade for the night for me. It's Connor McDavid. Yeah, sure. He's got 43 points in 39 games. Yeah, sure. He's awesome. Connor McJesus, he is. He's going to have Patty Bergeron on him. I don't care how much or how good McDavid is at 19 years of age. In Boston, in the Garden, I know that if Connor McDavid even scores in the first couple minutes of the game, Tyler's going to go down there to the Garden and shut him down. Connor McDavid, I don't think he gets the job done tonight. I'm completely fine fading him in his 8K plus price tag on FanDuel. He's my Blade Fade of the day. Tyler, before we shut the show down, let's move on to our Civ City play. Talk to me about who the goalie you want to target is tonight.
I don't care who it is. And we talked about it earlier. Who's in net for Detroit? They're going to be terrible. They could end up pulling Creo and putting in Mrazek. I don't care who it is. They're going to attack him tonight. He's going to get shot on all over. I'm looking at Detroit's Creo to be the Civ of the night for me.
Jared Creo, Civ City play of the day. I would go with that same identical play with just 7 games in action. If you want to go someplace else, I think you can pick on Anders Nilsson. Anders Nilsson.
Oh, no. Oh,
yeah.
No. You can't do that to me.
I had to go someplace else. You stole Corral. For me, when's the last time Nilsson won? Sure. He won a couple days ago in Madison Square Garden. I don't care. Dude can blow up against the Islanders. He gave up 5 goals. The Islanders are shooting like 0.5%. Anders Nilsson is my Civ City play of the day. But for that, thank you all for joining myself and Tyler Lessard, or T-Less, in the industry.
I just got a quick question for you. Before we sign off, I got a quick question for you, though. What do you think the over-under is in Lucic's return to Boston for penalty minutes tonight? What do you think, though? He gets in one fight? You think he fights it all?
I think
the box?
I'm gonna say 22 minutes. He's gonna get 2 game misconducts.
That's a bold statement. I'm going to Vegas for that.
Go for it. But I am the Tony M, signing off for Tyler Lessard. Thanks for watching our second edition of Tape to Tape. Namaste.
Namaste, my friend.